find out what went wrong. Don't just get yourself trapped into the emotional thinking.
So whenever you find yourself in that situation, don't be that person that says, oh my God, this is always happening to me.
You just gotta fail, isn't it? You gotta fail
Yeah,
a
you
lot
gotta
and
fail
fast.
multiple times and actually take ownership of each failure. And when you act on emotion. You never act on like rational thinking.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of The Grateful Show. Hope you are doing fantastic. And as always, you have here Bogdan, and this is
Pascu, how is it going?
What are you grateful for, Pascu? The question of the day.
I'm grateful for the recovery that I managed to have after last night's sleep. I had 96 recovery, which is quite unusual, and I feel very energized. So yeah, a thing to be grateful for.
Yeah, definitely. Grateful for the days that you're recovered because you have partied or I don't know what else in the past. So
What are
need
you
to
grateful
recover.
for?
Well, I'm grateful for the fact that last night I had some friends at my house, so I just had a bit of, I don't know, fun time. Let's put it this way. I'm not 100% recovered, but I can't complain. It was fun.
Nice. Cool. So for our audience to like get an understanding, today we are going to talk about 3 actionable tips that you can straight away off this podcast go on and implement in the way you are living your life. Basically, they are going to all be related to your mindset, and hopefully they're going to help you. What you have to keep in mind is that consistency is key with everything, so it applies to those 3 things that we are going to discuss as well, meaning you'll have to like constantly apply them and constantly remind yourself that you are meant to be applying those 3 things. And you can start with just one of them. You don't have to implement all of them 3 at once. That's going to be more difficult. But yeah, just to break the ice, the first and probably maybe the most important, in my opinion, would be a mindset shift when it comes to not being a victim anymore. What I mean by that is whenever you find yourself in the situation of why is this happening to me, like a particular event, a particular thing in your relationship, in your career, why is this happening to me? Try to replace that with what is this trying to teach me?
Yeah, because if you're gonna just do that, and if you're gonna just shift your mindset towards that, you're gonna see like life or the situations, or let's just say problems in general, you're gonna put them in your advantage. Honestly, I've watched a video recently from Jocko Willink. For those who don't know, he wrote a book called Extreme Ownership. The second thing that we're gonna mention in this podcast, which is relatable to the first thing, with just being more aware that you can take any problem and transform it into a solution, like find out what went wrong. Don't just get yourself trapped into the emotional thinking. Just find like out what happened, why it happened, and just see how you can make it work.
Yeah, because you'll be able to basically identify some patterns that will keep repeating themselves. And the whole reason why they're repeating themselves is for you to learn a lesson. So whenever you find yourself in the same or similar situation over and over and over again, it can be something small, such as maybe whenever someone calls you a particular name or criticizes you in a particular way, you get attacked, you get offended. It could be that, or it could be something like attracting the wrong person in your relationship. So whenever you find yourself in that situation, don't be that person that says, oh my God, this is always happening to me. What am I doing wrong? Like considering yourself a victim. No, instead of that, try to like actually notify it, like note it, be aware of it, and then of course again try to see why it's happening and what it's actually trying to teach you. Because whenever you find yourself in a situation such as like maybe you get upset of something in particular, maybe that it's trying to teach you that you shouldn't be getting upset from that particular thing. Maybe that's triggering an emotion from your childhood. Maybe someone calls you egocentric, and maybe you shouldn't be getting offended straight away, but if you get offended, maybe that's true. Maybe there's something to work on there. So yeah, by simply just making this mindset shift, you don't have to tell anybody about it. It's just you telling yourself with each occasion that you have to like have this shift. Eventually in time you will see that you'll improve yourselves. Do you want to move into the next?
No, just to give like another example for this for people, because it may sound a bit too general. Just to give an example, let's say that a lot of people, which I think it's relatable to almost everyone. I mean, almost everyone, like people have a job, they earn some money, and then in like 2 weeks, they spend all their money on pleasures, on fun, on obviously the things that you have to pay, your rent, or I don't know what, but you just get yourself trapped into this bad habit of just spending all your money on useless things, like, I don't know, maybe memberships on things that you don't know, that you don't really use, or on clothes, or on, I don't know, vacations. So what you should do in that moment, instead of just pitying yourself because you don't have money, or just ask someone for the money and you're gonna just give them back on your next salary, just ask yourself, what should you do? Like, how can you actually save some money? How can you just put apart, let's say, some money of your salary, of your wage, I don't know, maybe 10%, 15%, so that won't happen in the future. So those money you won't touch, and you're just gonna touch them in like extreme emergencies. And by doing that, you're just going to be more aware that you're not going to have the money to consume, like to buy yourself things that you don't really need. Maybe you buy them just to impress other people, or just to, I don't know, point
Distract
something
yourself
out. Exactly. So instead of that, maybe you're going to buy things that are like in your favor, such as like books or memberships on, I don't know, the gym, or anything else, so you can apply this to like your real life.
Yeah, like
This is
with
one of the
everything,
examples.
mindset is the root of like all development. Once you have the right mindset, as you were mentioning, and apply it in particular situations, in different aspects of life, that's where it all starts, with your mindset. Like, as cliche as it sounds, as much as it's all over the internet, that's what you have to fix first. You don't
That's
have
why it's all over the internet, because this
yeah
is the thing that you have to do. Like, of course, it's cliche, but it's the thing that you have to do. It's just like the losing weight dilemma. What should you do? And all over the internet is just eat less calories and exercise. Of course, it's like a cliche thing, but this is the thing that you have to do. It's like basic.
Right.
Yeah.
And with
Moving
that,
to the next one.
Yeah, we can move into the next one, which we kind of covered, but this one, it's a bit more clear, and I think that you have a bit more understanding on the topic, which is taking ownership of every situation, of everything that happens to you, everything that happens in your life, even if it is entirely your fault, even especially if it's not your fault, taking ownership and actually seeing how could have you reacted differently, what could have you done better in that particular situation to do things differently, to obtain a different outcome.
And as I mentioned before, Jocko Willink has a book which is called Extreme Ownership. If you don't want to read it, I'm just going to explain the whole concept now in a few seconds. So basically, he is saying that, like, for us, for humans, it's extremely hard for just to take ownership on the things that maybe, like you said, we have done, or we haven't done, or we have just took a part, but just like a small part of it. So let's say that me and my girlfriend are going to have an argument, right?
Yeah.
And the argument is, let's say, because of her, because she just reacted on her emotions. Yeah. Obviously, maybe you had your part as well, because maybe you said something to trigger her emotions. And of course, she doesn't have to react on her emotions, and it's her fault because she did it that way. But you got to take like ownership of that and just say, okay, I'm very sorry that I said this. I didn't know that you're going to react in this way. what can we do just next time when we're gonna get into a similar
Yeah.
situation to just escape it a bit quicker. And of course, you're not gonna solve the problem right away because it's gonna happen because it's a habit. This is how you are built. This is how you're gonna react. But you're gonna be more aware of the situation. You're not gonna tell her the same thing, so she's not gonna react, and you're not gonna
Yeah.
have an argument. Or with
Okay.
anything else in life. Let's say that I don't know, you have a business partner and you have a business and you both are running the business and maybe you have done something that you shouldn't have done and obviously things are not working and because of that you gotta just lose the business. But
Mhm.
instead what you gotta do, of course, the thing it's already done, so you can't change it. But in the future you gotta just like say that you are sorry for the things that you have done and just like take ownership again of that thing and just like put it on a paper and just see why it didn't work out, how you
Yeah,
can just
basically.
recalibrate.
Yeah, basically it's learning from mistakes, right? Because majority of people believe that in order to like reach the top in any industry or like become successful, as cliche as might sound, you gotta have a gift, you gotta have a talent, you gotta get lucky. But in fact, it's
You just
actually,
gotta fail, isn't it? You gotta fail
yeah,
a
you
lot
gotta
and
fail
fast.
multiple times and actually take ownership of each failure and like
Hmm.
learn from it. Because like you don't learn from your successes, it's very
Yeah,
rarely the case. You
yeah,
mostly learn from your mistakes and you see where you fucked
exactly.
up and you're gonna go back there and do it better. And
Mm.
I wanted to point out on top of this, I'm currently listening to the Big Leap. I forgot the guy's surname, but his first name is Gay, Gay. I think it's Hafnick or something like that. So it's the Big Leap. I can link into the show notes later on. But basically, at some point, he's talking about arguments in a relationship, and he describes the fact that whenever you think that the whole argument it's a 100% situation, you're wrong. What does that mean? That basically means that 20% of the fault is mine and 90% of the fault is yours, or 60% and
Yeah.
40%. Therefore I have to take action on 60% of my fault, and you have to take action on 40% of your whole fault. And he basically flips the switch and explains why it's always the case of a 200% situation, because both of you have to put 100% in the faults that you've done, in the mistakes that you've done, in order to like regress the situation and learn from it. Because whenever there is a 40-60 situation or 30-70 situation, of course that the person that has only done 30% of the damage is going to be like, hold on a second, this is not my fault, this is your entire fault. And of course then when the blame is passed to the other person, that other person is going to like protect themselves, and they're gonna recall something that happened in the past that actually led to that argument. In fact, you didn't take the bin out, you didn't take the keys to the school, or whatever it could be. So whenever you find yourself in a situation where you are trying to see whose fault was it actually the most, who made the most mistakes, instead of actually seeing what mistakes you've done, what mistakes the other person has done, and trying to like get to like a
Mm.
common conclusion on how you
Hmm.
two both together are going to fix that,
Yeah.
you're never going to fix that argument, and it's going to like repeat itself again and again and again, until at some point probably one of you is just going to give up on the relationship or on the business partnership or whatever it is.
Exactly. So just take ownership, of course, like Pascu said, even though like actually to apply the 60-40 rule, the 100% rule, you have to like let the ego apart. This is what
Yeah.
you have to do,
Yeah.
which in most cases it's not gonna happen because we are human creatures. We are creatures. It's like we are built this way. We have an ego. This like the ego shapes who we are in a
Yeah.
way. It has its parts. You can't just let go of the ego. If you had 5% of the fall, just like break the ice and say the things that you are sorry for, because that's what you have to do in the first place. Just like
Mhm.
admit something wrong that you have done that led to
E-
the situation.
Even in I was I think Influence, the Art of Persuasion, there the author was mentioning about human behavior and how whenever you do like the least mistake possible, if you apologize and if you say sorry, even if it's not necessary, the other person is actually going to like automatically, subconsciously, and like humanly, if that's even a word, feel sorry for yourself, and like they are going to feel that you are the victim, therefore they're gonna be your savior, and they're gonna be like, no, it's completely fine, we're gonna fix it together. But if you don't say sorry and if you act on your ego, that person is going to be like, hold on a second, my ego is bigger than yours, and then there's going to be like a confrontation instead of like a mutual
Yeah.
work together.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, just be more aware when you're gonna have to take extreme ownership. And with that said, the third thing that you have to do is Pascu.
So basically, I believe that the last and the third thing is a roundup of everything we discussed so far, because without this first, you won't be able to apply the first two. And this is actually being more aware of your emotions, because we are emotional beings. We humans act on emotion in most cases. Even when we buy, we think that we buy on logic, that we need something, but in fact it's actually bought on emotion. When you buy ideas, when you buy materialistic stuff, when you buy everything basically, and when you act on emotion. You never
Sure.
act on like rational thinking. And the first thing that you have to acknowledge is the fact that whatever comes in your mind is firstly emotional based, meaning
Exactly.
if you have an urge to do something, it's usually an emotion that is telling you to do that thing. And usually what we do with the basic things, such as, oh, I'm cold, you're like, hold on a second. In your mind, within like a fraction of a second, you're going to give yourself a reason why you shouldn't feel cold, because in fact it's July, or because it's warm inside. So you might as well just take a hoodie on because you shouldn't be feeling cold. Or it goes on and on with like different situations. But basically, whenever you feel like, let's say you feel hungry, suddenly you feel hungry, you're gonna tell yourself, hold on a second, I actually ate 3 times already today, so I shouldn't be hungry, should I? But if you're not able to rationalize your emotion and you're actually going to act on it, which is like the easy way out, well, you're gonna literally live in a whole chaos, from like your relationship with yourself, relationship with your peers, with your loved ones, with everyone. If you act on emotion and like whenever you get triggered, you basically just respond straight away, nothing good is going to come out of that. And I think you mentioned like a couple of episodes ago, you were mentioning about an interview with, he was an actor who was always like speaking his mind out. Do you mind giving that example again? I don't remember his name.
I forgot about the example.
So basically, was this actor who was interviewed a couple of times. He was asked about his opinion on different topics, and he was not diplomatic at all.
Oh yeah,
Rather,
yeah, yeah, yeah. He was Robin Williams.
oh, fair
Yeah,
enough,
he
fair
was
enough.
the guy, the actor. Yeah, I mean, I believe that he currently is banned to be on television because he just speaks his mind off. Like he doesn't think at all what he's about to say. He just says it, and he's very honest and he's very real, which is very good. But you gotta be like gentle when you say something because people are just gonna offend themselves. So
Mhm.
if you're gonna think like, let's say that we have to meet each other
Yeah.
and you are late like 15 minutes, let's say.
Mhm.
You can't just, when you arrive, I can't just take, bro, what the fuck are you doing? You're late 15 minutes. Are you stupid? You are not organized. What's the problem? You can't just say that. You got to be a bit more gentle. You got to say,
Yeah.
bro, you know, I've been waiting here for 15 minutes and it's a bit cold. Like next time, can you be a bit more aware of the time or at least just tell me so I can leave the house a bit later as well? So I'm not going to wait for you because
Yeah.
my time is important for
Yeah.
me as well. So you just got to be more aware of these things. You got to be more, I, I feel like awareness is the key thing
Yeah.
that everybody should do in order to be more, to understand themselves more or
Yeah.
what they want to get out of life or
Yeah.
out of any
And it
situation,
all starts with
relationship.
self-awareness, because if you don't have the inner work and if you don't know your flaws and the things that you are currently working on, well, obviously when you encounter something outside, it's gonna be 1,000 times harder to not react on you or on your emotions, or to not get
Yeah.
triggered.
Mm.
And I think you were mentioning quite a while ago how much of the actual conversation matters in terms of like the things you say, the way you say the things, your tonality, your posture. Can you
Yeah. Well, basically, like your body language, because everybody thinks that when you're gonna just communicate with someone, it's just like verbally.
Yeah.
That's what matters, like what you're going to say. When in fact, there are studies, like a lot of studies, which show that body language is at least 65% of the actual communication.
Hmm.
Because if I'm gonna just sit in this way and I'm gonna talk to you, obviously I'm just gonna like look bored. But if
Yeah.
I'm gonna be open and when I'm gonna communicate something, I'm gonna do like some open gesture with my arms. So you're gonna perceive the information differently. So
Yeah.
this is 65%. And like I believe that 25% of the rest to 100% is your tonality.
Hmm.
Because if you're gonna just speak louder, let's say that I'm gonna say the same thing. The first time I'm gonna say it in a loud voice, angry, and then I'm gonna say it again, but in a very mild and calm voice. You're gonna perceive two
Yeah.
different things,
Yeah.
even though
Yeah.
I've used exactly the same words.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So basically, the words doesn't matter that much. Of course, they matter because you gotta like this is how you're
Communicate.
gonna exactly
Yeah.
communicate. This is how you're gonna transmit the information. But how you say it and the energy you have matters way more than what you're going to say.
It's like with like the cliche, like obviously the three words I love you. It really I think it's probably the thing that matters the most on how you say it. And like
Exactly.
with like I'm sorry, or like I'm fine, you can be like,
Exactly.
oh yeah, I'm fine, or I can be like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, do you see the difference? Like obviously there's a difference between those two.
Exactly. Or when you're gonna just, I don't know, say like you said, I'm sorry. You're gonna say, yeah, I'm truly sorry for what I've done. Or you're gonna say, yeah, whatever, I'm sorry. So there are two different things. You just
Yeah.
said exactly the same thing, but it meant like two different
Yeah.
emotions. Yeah. So you're just gonna be more aware of your emotions. And I'm just gonna recommend you I recommend to read the Chimp Paradox. So it's written by a professor, which is a psychologist. So, so basically, he explains how the brain is divided in three parts. So the first one is the human, which is basically the rational thinking and the things that you do before you just analyze the situation. There is the chimp, which is the root of our like evolution. This is
Yeah.
how we evolved, like you said
Yeah.
earlier. And there's the computer. The computer is just basically the habits and the things that you do repeatedly, unconsciously,
The subconscious
subconsciously.
mind.
So
Yeah.
exactly, you don't have to think or to feel something in order to do it. You just do it because it's like in
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
like drinking water or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna recommend you to read that book because I believe that it's top five books that everyone should read in order to understand themselves better or just to get the most out of any situation.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. So just to go full circle again, I'm going to like again mention each one. So the first one
Hmm.
was try to replace why is this happening to me with
Hmm.
what can I learn from this, because it is happening for you. Second one is taking ownership of literally everything that happens, no matter whether it's your fault or not, especially if it's not your fault, try to take ownership then as well. And the third one, which without which you cannot apply the first two, is actually being more aware of your emotions and where they come
Hmm.
from and
Yep.
what triggers those emotions and when you are
Yep.
acting on emotion and when you are not acting on emotion.
Yep.
Do you want to add
So
anything else?
no, that was it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. If you guys have any questions, just let us know. You can write us on Instagram on Grateful Show. If you feel like this episode helped you, just share it with your friends or just share it with someone else. It's gonna help us, of course, because it's just gonna increase our audience, but it's gonna help your friends as well or the
Yeah.
people that you are trying to give a hand because you know that they are stuck as well.
Hmm.
And if you have any questions in mind, again, you can email us or whatever you have in mind, honestly.
Yeah,
And
feel free to DM us. And I think it's worth mentioning that you actually recorded this podcast from like the same house.
yeah, it's very funny. But we want to use the video because we want to
Yeah.
give you the most out of every single podcast.
Yeah, you see, it's
And
not just the voice, it's us as well, and the way we are expressing ourselves with like tonality and like our
exactly, and body language as
body
well. So
language.
it's yeah, we gotta be the example as we're trying to give as well. So yeah, with
Absolutely.
that in mind, Thank you so much again for listening. And until next time, this is Bogdan.
This is Pascu. If you're listening on iTunes, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating review. We would very much appreciate that. And until next time, stay grateful.